Hi, I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer. Amazon is banning certain words like union and pay raise from their company app for employees as they grow more and more terrified of an organized workforce. We'll bring you the details. President Biden's approval rating is in free fall, and his behavior has gotten so bad that even the Saudi Arabia, they're mocking him on TV. We'll talk to you about that. We'll explain what's happening. And CNN is suffering from their most embarrassing failure ever. And that's quite an accomplishment for CNN. All that and more coming up. So don't go anywhere. America's Lawyer starts right now. Toxic chemicals called PFAS are being spread across the globe in alarming amounts, and a new report warns about the dangers of these chemicals and how they're spreading through the air. Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins joins me now to talk about that and many other issues. Farron, of course, we've been following this story for almost a decade now. Honestly, we were some of the first people reporting it because we were trying that case up in the Ohio River Valley where 70,000 people were exposed to this cancer-causing chemical, and it seemed like the government said it's okay. Looks like they're doing it again. Now we're spreading it by air. Let's pick up on this story a little bit.
Right. This is actually a rather terrifying story for everyone involved, because we've found these PFAS chemicals, and essentially every human being in the planet right now has this chemical in them, most likely. And usually it goes through the water. That's how most of it was coming in. But now we're finding out that when you send your trash away that has these PFAS chemicals in it, whether you know it or not, it gets incinerated. And over in Europe, they've actually been doing studies. We're ignoring it here for the moment, but in Europe, they've done studies and found, oh my God, we're burning the trash, we're sending the PFAS, dozens and dozens of miles away from these incinerators, and we don't know how badly this is going to hurt people because we don't know what exactly happens to these chemicals when you heat them to these temperatures. Do they become worse? Do they break down?
We do know a little bit. We learned in the trial. I tried 5 cases back to back in the Ohio River Valley, people that were suffering from testicular cancer, kidney cancer, complete systemic kinds of problems that were killing people by the dozens up in the Ohio River Valley. There was a movie that was made about it. It was called Dark Waters. I tried those cases for that lawyer. Rob Bilott, brilliant lawyer who stayed with this, did the investigation, and just dogged these people. Another movie that tells the story is The Devil We Know. But the story is still not getting through to government, okay? Right. To have the Biden administration say, yeah, this is okay. Let's incinerate it, even though we know that it first of all, it never goes anywhere. If it's in the soil, it's in the soil for 1 million years. If it's in the water, it's in literally 1 million years. If it's in the water, it's in a million years. If it's in your body, it stays in your body your entire life.
Right. That's why these are called these forever chemicals. Folks need to understand that. These don't go away. They're not going to break down. And one of the things we are finding out, of course, about this, incinerating it and sending it through the air, is that sometimes they do actually break down. And then what the scientists have now found is, oh God, once they're in the air, they actually start to reform. And they create new kinds of PFAS chemicals. And these
are mutations.
Right.
They're mutations.
Like the different variants of COVID we have seen.
Right.
And we're creating these horrible new cancer-causing chemicals.
Well, isn't the real problem here, it's like the story we did a couple of months ago where the Biden administration says, now we're going to allow paraquat, the most deadly herbicide on the planet. It's so deadly that the country, China makes it in China, outside Beijing. They don't allow it to be sold in China. The UK makes it. They don't allow it to be sold in the UK. They ship it to the United States. Switzerland makes it, but they don't allow it to be sold in their country. They ship it to the United States. So we know that we've got an administration that is completely asleep at the wheel on environmental issues. They're spraying this from the air when no other country allows that. We allow it in the United States. It causes Parkinson's disease. So this story that we're talking about on PFAS is just another iteration of this administration simply ignoring what they promised they were going to do when they were running for office, and that is we're going to get control over the environment.
Well, I do want to add to that, too, because a lot of people think that, okay, well, obviously Republicans are horrible on environmental issues.
They are.
So all you got to do is vote Democrats and we're going to solve these problems. No, folks.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. You got to look at what the EPA is doing, which right now is pretty much nothing.
Well, you and I talk about this all the time. We have this one, it's kind of this myopic view of our politics, right? We think if it's Democrat, they're looking out for consumers. They're not. On social issues, they're great. Republicans are awful. On consumer issues and issues that protect our environment and protect our health, Democrats are just as bad as Republicans. And this is a great example. Paraquat and now this, we're just going to let it out there and we're not going to worry about what it does to consumers. Amazon is so scared of their workers forming a union that they've banned words like union from the company's chat app for workers. You actually picked this story up, I think, before most people in the media, and you were reporting this a long time ago. You were saying something's getting ready to happen in the union movement with Amazon, and we started seeing the real edges of it, right? We saw what happened in Alabama where they shut down the union process. But here, this is so ugly. This app is going to say you can't use these words. What are the words they can't use in the app?
There's so many of them, but union, pay rate. You can't use the word restroom in there. I think like things like camaraderie or this is concerning. And I do have to give full credit, obviously. Ken Klippenstein with The Intercept is the one who broke this big story. And for the record, the chat app is apparently, they haven't released it fully yet.
But they're going to.
And they will. And honestly, I think a bigger part of the story here, too, is you're going to have an app that Amazon basically controls and says, hey, workers, y'all get on there and talk to each other. If you think they're not going to big brother this crap and pay attention to every single word you say, you are kidding yourselves. This is so they can spy on people with it, making them think like, oh no, this is just so you can give a shout out to your buddy over here who did a great job.
And so this is their statement. We're doing this is Amazon, because our teams are always thinking about new ways to help employees engage and improve their lives. Okay, so they're going to come up with this app, but oh, by the way, you can't use the word pay raise, compensation, you can't use the word petition, prison, you can't. I couldn't make this up.
Slave, plantation.
You can't, because they know that they get hammered. They get hammered by these employees that it's constant. And so they say, we're going to give you this chat app because we're really concerned about you, Mr. and Mrs. Employee. We're concerned about your quality of life, and we want you to be able to talk to each other. But
yeah, you can't use any of these words. You can't use it for union organizing. And of course, their big concern is, just a couple weeks ago, this massive victory where a union for the first time was formed with an Amazon warehouse. Chris Smalls, who we have talked about many times, he is the one they said back in the day, let's make him the face of it. Let's try to paint him as this crazy person trying to form a union. Well, Chris Smalls beat you, Amazon, and now you have all of these other Amazon warehouses that are reaching out to Smalls saying, do for us what you've done there. So he may have been fired, but he won in the end.
It's inevitable. They're going to unionize. Amazon needs to get behind it. They need to do it in a way that's cooperative, that is sustainable. This is not the way to do that. The Biden administration made a dangerous decision on not regulating chemicals from jet fuel that are now contaminating water supplies. Now, this was an affirmative decision that the Biden administration made after the Trump administration started it. Now, think about this. We know that jet fuel, if you're living near a military base, is probably in your drinking water. B, we know that it causes neurological disease. We know it causes birth defects. We know it causes cancer. But you know what? We're not going to allow you to report the amount of this jet fuel that's in your water. We're going to stop you from doing it.
Yeah, this is a horrendous decision by this administration. Like you said, This happened under Trump. They said, we're no longer going to regulate this. We're not going to do anything. You're just going to have to drink your jet fuel and move on with life. So the Biden administration, as usual, people say, oh, good, environmental protections. Nope. Biden's EPA says, yeah, we're not going to touch it either. Yeah. And of course, I think a big part of it, as you mentioned, from the military bases, if we have to crack down on that, then, oh my God, contractors may not get money. They may have to pay people when they get these, cancers. And this affects brain development.
In children.
In children, infants, fetuses. So we're giving these children this jet fuel via the mother, and they come out with exceptionally lower IQs. We're ruining their lives.
Well,
we're ruining their lives.
It's a perchlorate, okay?
Yeah.
And we know a lot more about perchlorate than we know that it causes birth defects. We know it causes neurological disease in adults, just like children. We know it causes cancer. There's a lot of material on this. And so the administration has said, and all we want is like a state to have information so they can say to people in the community, you might want to know that we have this toxin in your drinking water and it's coming from the military base right next to you. The contractors, buddy, they went crazy when this was on the table. The contractors fought desperately to keep this a secret. They didn't even want to raise this. They wouldn't even talk about the fact that this chemical is in drinking water. Now the administration's bought into it totally. And the Democrats were the ones who were so critical of Trump when he made it happen.
Well, and that's the big problem here, too. Again, you have all these people who really were up in arms. All these environmental groups spoke out against Trump. They filed these big lawsuits. Okay, but now the guy that you told us was going to do this, where's the outrage now? You have to carry it over because this isn't a partisan issue. This is people are going to die because they're drinking poison and our government's doing nothing about it.
Yeah, now it's okay. Now it's not that freak. We agree he's a freak, Trump doing it. Now this tired old man who can barely stay awake, and he doesn't probably even know what's happening here. And but now it's okay. An analysis of IRS data has revealed that the wealthiest Americans are paying income tax rates far lower than working class Americans. And the usual suspects, well, they're the ones paying the least. No surprise here. Great article done by ProPublica. I don't know how they got the material. I mean, this is hard work to get this material. Pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we've got all of these individuals. These are the top 400 wealthiest people in the United States. Many of them paying tax rates in the low teens or very high single digits.
Run through some of the numbers.
Yeah. Bill Gates. He paid a tax rate of 18.4%. Then Steve Ballmer, who now runs Microsoft, 14.1%. Bloomberg, income of $2 billion, paid a tax rate of 4.1%. Bezos, 23%, so a little bit higher for Bezos, I guess.
Betsy DeVos, 10%.
Yeah, the billionaire DeVos family here, 10%. And then, the Walton heir, Tom Walton, heir to Walmart, he actually paid 23%.
Yeah.
But the 23% is relatively what a lower income American making $40,000 a year, they're probably going to pay about 23%.
Add to that these are the same people that have offshore banks.
Yeah.
This is money we never see. You understand? They offshore the money. A corporation offshores the money. And then we have to plead with them, oh, will you please bring your money back in from the Isle of Man? And they say, well, if you'll negotiate with us. And so they negotiate. The money comes back in only when the feds agree, well, we're only going to make you pay 5% on that money.
Yeah.
Everybody else is paying regular tax rates. Everybody else is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. This is a tragedy. And it's just, nobody seems to be willing to stop it.
Well, it is, and we discussed, because it was revealed a couple years ago, that there is this building down there, I think in the Cayman Islands. It's just this building, and there's nothing but a bunch of P.O. boxes in there. And in there are the P.O. boxes of some of the largest corporations and the wealthiest individuals, because that's their address. That's where they officially live, so they can avoid paying these taxes. It's crazy.
You did a story one time in the Trial Lawyer magazine, and the number was staggering. It was $400 billion. Is that number correct?
I think, well, that was, at least what it was a couple years ago. I'm willing to bet at this point it's a lot higher, considering the excessive wealth we're seeing that these individuals are hoarding now.
And and so that's in the islands, and we have to please bring it back.
Yeah.
And please pay some taxes, but we're going to let you pay 5%. Everything's going to be okay. President Biden's approval rating is getting worse by the minute, and his embarrassing behavior is now being mocked. Couldn't make this up. It's being mocked on TV in places like Saudi Arabia. Okay, so we have this relationship with Saudi Arabia, which is a joke to begin with. It's the most horrendous administration. They're just a cabal of psychopaths there in Saudi Arabia. But we have that relationship anyway. But Biden now has gotten to the point, it's almost become such a laughable situation. They actually are doing TV segments of Biden, and it ain't a very pretty picture.
Right. It's, I guess kind of their Saturday Night Live version of it. They played this clip of him falling asleep halfway through, Kamala having to wake him up and talking nonsensical, not really forming even complete sentences. And
well, they took off on, there was a couple of weeks ago, the White House, he's giving a speech. And he starts off in the speech, he says, I want to talk about America, and I want to use one word to talk about America. And then he goes off in a trance talking about his trip in the Himalayas. I mean, here, let's take a look at it. I couldn't make this up.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was in the the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping, traveling with him. I think we traveled 17,000 miles when I was vice president. I don't know that for a fact.
So what's your take?
I don't even really know how to respond to that clip because it really does make no sense. And let's be clear, if Trump had done something when Trump did do things like that.
Trump did stuff like that all the time.
We would do segments on it and all of that. So fair is fair. You got to call this out because, again, that is not normal behavior. That is not okay. We've got a man who can't follow his own train of thought. Something is clearly not clicking here. This isn't necessarily a ha-ha, look at the crazy old man. This is guys, we got to understand there's something wrong here.
Yeah, we got a national security issue. There's a movie, I love this movie. It was called Being There. And the idea of it was, it's Peter Sellers' movie, and he's this character, Chauncey Gardner. Now, the family dies, that he's the gardener in the family. The media comes in, and he's the guy out the garden working. He's got some mental problems. He's got some serious mental problems. But all of a sudden, everything he says, the media embraces and says, this is absolutely brilliant, Chauncey Gardner. I don't care what it is. It could be as absurd as you want to make up. And Chauncey Gardner sounded brilliant. I wonder whether they're going to start doing that with this guy, because that's the only way to make it look like everything's okay. Because I got to tell you something, that clip we just watched, I could go through dozens and dozens of them on this show, and it freaks me out just a little bit.
Well, I think right now people are starting to pay attention to it. About a week or so ago, we get the reports about Dianne Feinstein.
Oh my God!
That she multiple times in a conversation with somebody she's known for years, that person has to reintroduce themselves to her. Because in the middle of a conversation, she forgets who they are.
Well, she'll start talking about her family. She'll start talking about something completely unrelated.
The weather.
The weather.
Where are you from?
That's what we're seeing. I mean, God bless him. He's been at it a long time. He's paid his dues. He's too old for this job. And he's already seriously talking about running again in 2024. The other shot the Saudis took was on Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a pretty ugly shot that they did with her. I mean, she looks like a total buffoon, too. So you got to
this
wonder.
administration should look at that and say, look, why are we giving them hundreds of millions of dollars in weapons that they turn around use to commit genocide in Yemen? And this is how they treat us. They're not our friends.
No, we're pleading with them to increase
lower gas prices.
Increase oil production. Nah,
they're laughing at us.
They're laughing at us like we are just captive, and we are. CNN recently launched a streaming app that's already become a massive failure because they didn't seem to realize that nobody wants to pay for their corporate media garbage. It's propaganda. I mean, even the folks at this point that are the most bigger supporters of CNN are saying, yeah, we kind of have to agree this is digressed into pure propaganda, just like Fox News. It's propaganda. And so they launched this thing thinking everything's going to be okay. It's a terrible, terrible disaster. It's so bad. What they're doing is they're in cut mode right now. They're starting to cut all of their outside advertising because they are in bad financial problems.
And they just fired the chief financial officer a couple days ago because this was such a huge blunder. They pumped $300 million. I don't even know how they have $300 million. So
they're leveraged. They're leveraged to the hilt right now.
So they pump that into this new streaming service, and they say, well, you know how nobody even wants to watch us on TV? What if we made them pay $6 a month to watch us? I mean, they were getting 700,000 viewers in a 24-hour period. Not Tucker Carlson beats that in the first 5 minutes of his show.
Think about that.
And you say we've got a lower audience than most YouTube channels.
Most people would pay $6 a month not to have to watch Brian. What's his name? Brian Steller, whatever the little character's name is. Yeah, they pay $6 not to have to watch this propaganda crap. And so it's no big surprise here at all.
No, and it really is hilarious. I do have to say that it's hilarious that they went all in knowing that they had the lowest cable news audience out of anyone out there, knowing that people don't like what they're selling.
We established one time that more people are watching us on what we're doing. We don't have a huge network, but more people are watching you and they're watching than they are corporate media right now. It's a wake-up call for them.
It is.
Thanks, Farron.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's all for this week, but you can find all of our today's stories on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Ring of Fire. The videos are going to be posted throughout the week, and you can follow us on Twitter at America's Lawyer. I'm Mike Papantonio, and this has been America's Lawyer. We tell you the stories that corporate media can't tell you because their advertisers don't allow them to talk about it, and their political connections won't allow for it. We'll see you next week. We're going to tell you more stories then that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. Thanks a lot.